Alright everyone, welcome to the After Hours Gaming League. We have EA versus Google here for you today. We've already decided on the side and the pick, and it seems like EA gets both blue side and first pick. And,
Yeah, just
it seems I thought we were gonna get to do the picks the normal way, but I think they still prefer to do it in chat because they don't all own all the champs. So
yeah,
it's
that makes
a
sense.
little bit disappointing, but I mean it makes sense.
Mhm. Bit unfortunate, but anyways, as you were just mentioning, both of these teams have really good records in this AHGL season, so it should make for a really good match. I almost feel like we've casted these two before. I know we've casted them separately, but I almost feel like they're faced off against each other. Don't think that's actually the case, but regardless, should be a good matchup here.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I think we've casted them separately. I mean, I know this because I was doing the overlays, and I have
You
an
save
archive
them?
of overlays, and I didn't see an EA versus Google there, or else I would have used it.
Well, that would be definitive then. Uh, I don't know if anyone is making their way over from the EULCS, but Dragonborn just had an upset over there over Evil Geniuses, so that was a really exciting game. They ran AP Nidalee bottom lane with Soraka support, so
Yeah,
fun
I was
times.
actually watching that game before I came over here to cast this game, but yeah,
Yep,
that was
well,
interesting.
it just finished up. So, and that was the end result. And we are ready to go. Everyone is back in the chat, and we will have the picks and bans coming to you fast and heavy.
Casters, yes, we are ready. We are ready. The first ban is Rumble. So I don't know if that's a particularly targeted ban. You probably know this more than I do because I think you know more about the teams. But Rumble is a pretty strong champion right now, bully in top lane, and is commonly seen as a ban. Akali is also banned out, and so is Twisted Fate.
Yeah, Frozen Fire plays a lot of Rumble, but Rumble is just generally incredibly strong. He has one of the highest win rates in the game, and he keeps on getting stronger because they keep on making AP items, even better for him, which is, kind of unfortunate in the sense that he's been strong all along, and every time they change up the patch and they make Seeker's Arm Guard or they buff Landry's Torment and then fix it, because it was, of course, bugged last patch, like every time they do one of those things, it makes Rumble even stronger. So we do see Akali, Twisted Fate, and then Darius coming out as well. So a lot of top lane focus, and of course that global focus taken away with Twisted Fate ban.
Yeah, and we've actually been seeing a lot more Twisted Fate being played and being banned out. It used to be that you really didn't see Twisted Fate as much, except for maybe in solo queue. But in these team games, you didn't see Twisted Fate as much. But people really like that global presence that Twisted Fate has. And Elise is also banned out. So again, that focus on top lane.
Yeah, and Gasti plays a little bit of Akali, and really Akali kind of has the same thing going for her as Rumble. She doesn't have any mana. She has new items that, kind of help her out. She can build the Seeker's Arm Guard. She can also, build the Bilgewater Cutlass faster now, thanks to the most recent change to Blade of the Rune King. Of course, it doesn't change, her endgame item, the Hextech Gunblade, but she does get that Bilgewater Cutlass, at 1,400 gold, which is, pretty substantial, being able to get it, 550 gold earlier for that laning presence, because all she needs is a little bit of extra burst to 100 to 0 someone. And we are seeing another ban, and it is of Amumu. What do you think about that?
I mean, Amumu, you see it banned out now and again because he has that great ultimate to lock everybody down. I did see some nerfs to the radius of the ultimate, so he's not as effective, but still a strong champion.
Yeah, and radius nerfs are actually kind of tricky. As far as I understand, just the way circles work, like it's a bigger overall nerf than just saying nerfing a point blank, or a
Length of a
skill
skill
shot,
shot, yeah.
yeah, 50 range. Like it's actually, pretty substantial range, difference. And you, of course, being a math major, you
Yes.
know a little bit more about that.
From my math background, I can say that, nerfing that radius is going to nerf it by the square of it because, you're nerfing the area of the AoE rather than just the length of a skill shot.
Holy shoot. Nerf squared? That's terrible. Poor Amumu. Poor Amumu. He has something else to cry about. We do see a first pickup of Lulu. Everyone loves Lulu. And I've been trying to write this article about why Lulu's terrible and why everyone should stop playing Lulu. And I don't know, she's actually received nerfs in like the last two patches, not this past one, but the previous two patches, and yet everyone still plays her, still loves her. You know, still kind of the highest priority champion. But in solo queue, you know, she has like a 47% win rate, and in tournaments, like she has had one of the lowest win rates in like over the course of like January and February tournaments. In particular, in January, I think she only won like 33% of her games out of like 100 or something. So it's kind of ridiculous how frequently she's still picked up when she actually doesn't, you know, perform incredibly well. So that was, anyways, the basis of my article. That's gone unwritten, but we are going to see a Lulu
So what
in
you're
this
saying is
game.
you expect EA to lose?
I do, just based on that Lulu, just based on the fact that they want to first pick a Lulu, just done for, right off the bat.
Well, we did see. Well, we have seen when Lulu first came out. We saw Lulu go in other lanes, in such as mid or even top or the jungle. But Lulu likely going to go in the support role here. And Leona and Tristana both being picked up here. That's likely to be the bot lane for Google. But we've seen Leona in the jungle too, so I won't count that out.
Nintendo Dex playing Leona in the jungle, and she does have a triple auto attack reset, which is really helpful in clearing the jungle and really nice. You can instantly take out wards and do a lot of neat tricks with Leona. Although I think that might be a bug, because when I recall first playing her, you couldn't do that, but now you can with some ease. And Tristana, of course, got a really big buff last patch. Essentially, her scaling attack speed got buffed. And of course, it comes over the course of levels, but at level 18, it's like a 17% attack speed bonus, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, and that's just going to make late game Tristana even stronger with that range and with that attack speed boost. Is going to be doing so much damage from really far away.
Right, and a lot of people don't really recognize her early game power either. She is one of the burstiest level 1s, level 2s, and level 6s in the game. It's kind of unusual, of course, because she scales off AP really heavily, but her combination, even without any AP, is pretty hefty. And when you combine it with Leona, of course, that dot from the explosive shot of Tristana is going to automatically proc those sunlights and make it really easy to get the maximum amount of damage from Leona's passive.
Yeah, and I mean, if Leona goes in, Leona's a very bursty support champion too. She wants to go in with that Zenith Blade and stun them, use the W2, and just really put out a lot of damage and help her laner put out a lot of damage because of that passive.
Indeed. So I'm really excited to see some early aggression down there and see how Tristana performs. Of course, the new rave is picking up Blade of the Rune King on everyone. Tristana especially really enjoys that, and it helps her kind of, scale from mid-game to late game, because she did have that lull previously in mid-game that I never really understood, because why does a champion with a 90% attack speed bonus have a mid-game lull, whereas people don't really complain about Ashe? And I guess it's just the added utility, but I think it's mainly also, as Tristana, you always want to jump into the fight in lane, and then when you get into team fights, if you do that, you instantly die.
I think people didn't complain about Ashe because nobody expected anything from Ashe in the first place.
Okay, that makes sense.
They also pick up, or actually no, EA picks up Misfortune and Cho'Gath. So Misfortune probably going to be the AD carry, and Cho'Gath could actually go top lane or in the jungle.
Yep.
Or even mid.
Yeah, and even mid. And it's actually, you were mentioning Lulu earlier, being primarily a support champion, and that, of course, she is, but she still sees quite a bit of play in solo queue in middle. Zamfira in particular, I believe, is still challenger, and just played Lulu mid all the time, and it's really devastating. She still has like really good burst damage just with her EQ combo, and then she has a ton of utility to go along with that. So certainly still a viable mid pickup. I mean, as you mentioned, most likely will be going in that support role. And Cho'Gath, we'll just kind of have to see where he fits in.
Yeah, I mean, Cho'Gath is a pretty versatile champion. We don't really see him in mid as often, but he does have a good amount of burst in the mid lane, and he does a lot of damage. So, I mean, he can play there as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously his kit kind of makes him a great mid killer in the sense that he has sustain, more sustain than a lot of mages are going to put out early game, and he gets extra tanky from feasting on things, so he can't be burst down by mages, and of course he has that silence from Feral Scream, which just absolutely shuts down opposing casters. And yeah, as you mentioned, not frequently seen middle, but some people have played him middle and seen incredible success. More and more now we do see him in the jungle where he has pretty good clears and decent ganks. I'm not a huge fan of his ganks because of course it all relies on landing that rupture, but he has seen quite a bit of success, and then he scales in the late game just about better than any other jungler, since he just gets free tanky stats through Feast, and then he just roams around and creates a lot of AoE CC during the team fights.
Yep. So we're still waiting on the next picks for Google. So far it's Lulu, Misfortune, and Cho'Gath against Leona and Tristana.
Yeah, these picks not necessarily coming very fast, and I appreciate the amount of strategy that must be going into them. And of course, we saw like a lot of studying of the enemy team insofar as the bans went, a lot of focused bans. So I'm excited to see here what should be a really good game here. We do see an Aurelia pickup, and she is much more popular now thanks to Blade of the Rune King and Vi, who has been popular for a long time and was kind of the focus of a lot of bans, but her along with Zen after those nerfs will probably not see so many bans, but will be showing up in a lot of games still.
Yep. So Aurelia, as you said, that Blade of the Ruin King is useful on her because it gives that attack speed along with all these other stats, the lifesteal, the active on it. So we'll get to see if Aurelia does pick up that Blade of the Ruin King and see how she uses that.
Yeah, Blade of the Rune King, everyone is like, oh my goodness, it must be getting nerfed in the next patch because it gives a lot of. It just gets every stat that you kind of want in lane, especially, and it scales really well into the late game as well. It gives that attack speed, it gives you a little active with the Bilgewater Cutlass, and then, of course, as a Blade of the Rune King, that is, incredibly effective, and it does, percentage health damage, which is everything you could want, especially as Aurelia.
Okay, apparently there are technical difficulties with the call. The Skype, it's failing.
Well, luckily we're having none of those issues over here. Hopefully they sort them out. But that just gives us more time to talk about Blade of the Rune King and complain about it. I mean,
no, it seems like people are saying, oh, you should build it on every AD carry, every bruiser, just every champion. I actually heard Scar say he's going to build it on Katarina. I mean, I don't think he was serious, but it's just the idea right now is Blade of the Rune King is so good.
I mean, he could potentially build it on Katarina. I mean, I would not put that beyond him if he built Katarina like kind of tank cat and then went Blade of the Rune King as well, because she does have an AD ratio on her, I think on her Q and her ultimate as well. But the other thing that kind of makes me believe he would do it is he ran Diana with kind of a split push, what I call the Dominion Diana build, which is where you build Stinger into Nashor's Tooth. Generally, if you're going to play in fives and Sunmer's Rift, you just go for all AP and some defensive items. So Abyssal Scepter into Seeker's Armguard / Zonia's into just like pure AP, just so you can burst people down. But if you do want to split push, if you do want to take down towers faster, and if you do want to have the best 1v1 presence, then Scar's build of Nashor's Tooth still makes a lot of sense because you just have extra dueling capabilities and pushing capabilities, but not really the burst that you would want in team fights.
Yep, so just as we're talking about Katarina, though, we see Katarina being picked up along with a Jarvan. So Jarvan, another one of those junglers that is very strong right now, along with Xin Zhao and Vi.
Yeah, and I really like this team composition that Gasty put forth here. Katarina, Jarvan, MF, Cho'Gath. So they have like a lot of AoE CC and a lot of AoE damage to go along with the Cataclysm from Jarvan. And potentially their goal, I'm sure, is let Jarvan jump in there. He'll lock everyone up inside the Cataclysm. He'll probably get Wild Growth by Lulu, and then Katarina and MF will be doing a lot of AoE damage and hopefully just burst people down. So I think that is probably the idea there, and it is an interesting team composition. Hopefully they can work that out over the course of the game.
Yep, so I think we still have to see the last pick. We have Leona, Tristana, Aurelia, and Vi, so that leaves the mid laner for Google.
Yep. I am very interested in seeing it. Of course, we've seen Shuche run Vi middle. You could potentially run Aurelia middle as well. But
you could go Tristana middle.
Oh, yeah, actually, AP Tristana, still a thing. I mean, she still has a 1.5 AP ratio on her ultimate, which is absolutely absurd. Like, she has crazy, crazy burst, and people just don't ever respect her as a mid laner. And to be fair, over the course of time, she's gotten bonuses to her AD side, but she's also received bonuses to her AP, not scaling, but of course Explosive Shot can be used at her max attacks range now, which means, at endgame it has 708 attack, or 708 range, which is not bad for a spell.
Yeah, so, a buff to its power because you increase its range. One of the things about that ability was that in late game you really didn't use it at all because, well, for AD Trist at least, because you weren't close enough. But AP Trist really likes to jump in there to get with the rocket jump, so I didn't really have as much of a problem getting that explosive shot off. But the last pick is Diana, and that is going to be Diana mid.
I have a feeling that they're listening to us because they keep on picking these champions that we're, talking about, at length. So everyone is ready. We are about to go. And Diana, in addition to being interesting because we're just talking about her in different ways you could build her with a split push comp, or whether you just want to build her a straight AP to go into those team fights, one thing that, she's always been known for is countering Katarina. And that's thanks to her Moonfall, her E ability. Essentially, you don't use it very often, and you can just, only use it when Katarina jumps in and tries to ultimate you and instantly interrupt her. So that's kind of the idea around that matchup in mid lane.
We just saw Gasty say everyone ready, and Frozen Fire said wait, and then he started it. So hopefully everything's okay.
We'll see in just a moment.
So these bans going out. Rumble was actually the ban, so we might actually get to see which champions were banned.
Yeah, that's really nice of them. So once again, it is EA on the blue side, Google on the purple side. Really great matchup we're going to have here. Gragas was not banned, so we're not going to see the actual bans coming out here. But I don't know how many of the bans you can actually remember. I always try to make a note to write them down. But it was, who was it? It was Rumble, Twisted Fate, Akali.
Yeah, Akali.
Amumu. I'm letting you come up with the last
Darius.
Two. Oh, okay.
Darius was banned out. And I forget.
Oh well. And there was one unknown ban. So those champions that we don't know will not be played, but we will see almost assuredly the actual champions that were picked in the pregame roster. Otherwise, we might have some issues. One thing about the Aurelia Vi combination, I love that combo, and with Diana as well to a lesser extent. It's a really nice combo, but it's not really about team fighting. I mean, they all perform really well in team fights, but what they do is they single out one person, and you use Assault and Battery, and you just absolutely destroy them. And that's kind of what Aurelia does too. She just jumps through the enemy team and takes down a high priority target. She's kind of the assassin of bruisers. So they kind of have three essentially bruisery assassin types, and so their goal is going to be picking people off one by one. Whereas on the other side we have EA that just has an incredible AoE team comp that hopefully wants to kill everyone instantaneously, all at once, all 5 people.
All 5 people, all at once for double pentakill.
Double penta, indeed.
Anyway, we have actually the last ban was Elise that we forgot. So there you go. On Google's side though, they decided to try to spell out Google instead of actually giving out the actual bans. So that's why we have the Gragas, Gangplank, and LeBlanc picks. But anyway, we have Aurelia and Vi being picked up.
How do you know that's not Giggle?
It could be, like maybe they didn't even intend to spell out their own team name or the company that they're from.
Oh. So we kind of have an interesting setup here for Vi. It's all attack damage in the runes, but then a 14-15-1 jungle page, which, it's kind of unusual in my book. I mean, I like it, but I have not seen too many pages matched up like that. Going down in defense to get the Juggernaut, which is the increased maximum health by 4%. So if that gives any indication, we might see a more tanky Vi as opposed to kind of the all-out rush Spirit of the Elder Lizard and then go for all damage Vi.
Yeah, I mean, Vi's sometimes tended to do this thing where they would build a lot of attack damage, and in teamfights they know that they're gonna die, but their goal is just to kill the AD carry first before they die, or do enough damage that they're easy to clean up by the rest of their team. So that's kind of like a suicide Vi, but if we see more tanky Vi, she might be able to survive longer.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we see in competitive play. Vi's that kind of go the regular bruiser route, rushing that locket, and then going for runic bulwark and warmogs and whatnot. So we will have to wait and see how exactly this Vi is built. Kind of an interesting setup over for Buns. If Buns is in fact playing on Misfortune, he has extra movement speed. So that That's especially unusual because the kind of fad this week in LCS was like, oh, Chaos is going to run Misfortune without using any boots. No boots because, Strut. So, if there's one champion, 180 champion that people think doesn't need, movement speed, it probably would be Misfortune. I don't really adhere to that line of thinking. I think movement speed's really important regardless of who you are. But professional players do disagree, and some don't even need them boots.
Well, I mean, the thing about Strut is that, when you're attacking, you lose that passive, so... basically when you need to position... When it's most important for you to position correctly, you don't have it. Which, it seems like, you would want the movement speed then, and you would want boots, and maybe even the movement speed Quince, as Bigglebens has, but we are getting the final pick locked in, and we'll have to wait 3 minutes before we get into the game, but after that is over, we should get the game to you guys.
Yeah, I am very excited, and we, kept on mentioning, oh, Cho'Gath probably going in the jungle. Of course, we didn't take too much note that Jarvan would in fact be going in the jungle, and Jarvan's also someone who can go mid, can go top, can go in the jungle, but, so far it looks like Jarvan jungle and a top Cho'Gath, and I really like I can't even pronounce that name, Cho'Gath Nerevar? Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you could pronounce the name, I guess is my concern. But regardless, he's running 21 armor, magic resist blues, and then has hit point regeneration Quince, which, a lot of top laners have run it, but on Cho'Gath it seems to be an unusual pickup. But his obvious, strategy here is just, sustain through that early game damage of Aurelia's, and then, once Cho'Gath gets a couple levels on him and a couple items on him, he's just immovable from lane.
Yep, so should be looking to farm up pretty well up there, trying to shrug off any harass that Aurelia might try to put on him. In terms of summoners, looks like Diana actually took a teleport, so it's really the only maybe slightly unusual pickup that we see.
Yeah, more and more middles tend to be running teleport, especially if they feel like their opposition has a roaming advantage on them. Katarina doesn't necessarily get to lanes quicker than other mids, but she does have a really high threat in that roaming. And we do see, in fact, Katarina is running, movement speed Quince. So we have movement speed Quince on Katarina, Misfortune, and on Jarvan coming down from EA. So essentially their team just thinks they need to go fast. Go really, really fast.
Movement speed Quince are they're actually interesting because that's the only slot where you can get extra movement speed in the runes. So I don't know. I always liked running movement speed Quince as if I don't know what else to put for Quince, I just use movement speed Quince because why not? Yeah,
there's some debate on not using them, but the hard thing is we don't really know how to value movement speed. Like, do you value it, based on how you can buy it in items? Because a lot of times the items that grant movement speed aren't really ideal to your build anyway. So you could potentially value it off the extra movement speed you get from Zeal, but who was it? It was Zyphorus, who is kind of the champion, or the balance and champion designer, who really talks about why he has done things a lot on the forum. So he's obviously an authority kind of to go through for the rioters. And I remember him mentioning that he valued, I think, the 7% movement speed of Force of Nature at 700 gold, or I think it might have been 8% movement speed at 700 gold. And so that's what internally Riot valued it at, which is a really high number per movement speed point. And if you go based on that, then those quintessences are really kind of the highest value overall that you can get. Other really high value ones include ability power too, and that's kind of what we're seeing from Diana. So we have kind of Team Go Fast versus Team Brute Force over there from Google.
Yeah, and Diana... Oh, actually, I just realized it's Diana and Leona in the same team, so that lore. But anyway, Diana does have a gap closer, as does most of her team, actually. Actually, all of her team has gap closers.
Mm-hmm.
Although Katarina does have one as well, but I guess she just wants to move faster to get into position.
Yeah, certainly any sort of advantage that Google finds at any point, the rest of the team is going to be able to follow up on. One last point of kind of interesting rune lore, or just rune facts. Frozen Fire on Aurelia running hit point Quince. That gives her an extra 78 at early levels, and that used to be the most popular Quint to run. Essentially, no one ran with anything besides that in Season 1, and it was really unusual if you did, and people would be like, oh my goodness, you have like no life. And, 78 hit points at level 1 is a pretty substantial amount, but, more recently, that's fallen out of favor, especially in the competitive scene. You see barely anyone running with those hit points, flat hit point Quints.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if they actually see more use because people consider health to be pretty OP right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, health is OP, but Blade of the Rune King is kind of, changing that meta around since it does do that max health-based damage, or current health-based damage, rather. And, if that really becomes the way of the future and Warmogs got nerfed, then really other items like Frozen Heart become a lot more valuable, and the one go-to item for a lot of people is Randuin's Omen nowadays as well. We do see 4 out of 5 skins on EA, and that kind of gives them an advantage. I always think 4 out of 5 is the best, especially when you're going against 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5 on the opposing team. So really good showing there, and some neat skins.
Yeah, I mean, that Warring Kingdoms Jarvan's pretty new. I have everyone showing us summoning, but I'm not in-game yet. Are you in-game?
I just loaded up in game, so we'll jump forward. Sure, we're there.
I am in right now, and I see a ping going down, and seems like they're just really kind of spreading out. Their ping's going down from either team.
Both teams, 2.4k gold. Important to note. Both supports are running a little bit of extra gold there to jump them up from 2.3 to 2.4. Bigglebun's nice little hiding spot, but it's spotted out by a ward. It's a really defensive positioning here from Google.
Yeah, and Bigglebun's going for the flask and health potion start, so really wants to have that sustain in lane. Yeah,
and that's really unusual because you don't tend to see that from AD carries, and I've really wanted to see them pick up more, because especially if the opposition runs a Doran's Blade, which Tristan is not doing here. She's actually running an equally unusual AD carry start with Cloth 5 pots, but if they do run Doran's Blade, then you can really out-sustain them. Like, just force trades all the time. You will lose the trades, but you'll sustain so much better than the opposition. So I'm waiting for that to come into the meta, but hasn't really done so far, especially in high levels of play, and we'll see how they kind of match up against each other here. 2 very sustaining bottom lanes.
Yep, so it looks like actually the MF and the Lulu want to... No, wait, actually Jarvan is going to start at the double golems, so that they're just going to help him with that. Actually, Lulu picks up one of those golems, so it's a little bit unfortunate, but over here we see the mid and top lane for Google going to take these raids for themselves as the rest of Google goes with the Wolves and Blue start.
Yeah, and that's a really big advantage you can get when you're purple side. Take those raids, your jungle's not going to miss it, especially if he gets a smiteless blue buff, then he can just run straight to red and, and then kind of backtrack, go back to Wolves, then do race. So he's not set behind at all in both your mid lane and your top lane, get a slight advantage. Of course, in general, you want to give it to your top lane, as that is the more snowbally of the lanes.
Yeah, and as you said, Vi did get a smiteless blue buff, so he's going to go directly to that red buff.
Wow, lots of aggression down bottom.
Yep, both Tomato Orange and Bigglebun's getting down to about half health, and health potion being already popped by the Leona. So, oh, that double up missing Tristana, but some good harass. Up at top, we see Jarvan coming in for an attempt at a gank, but a ward over here spots him out, so he has to back off.
Yeah, and it was an interesting attempt at a gank because he, decided to forego blue buff, which is sitting there at level 2, and Cho'Gath actually hadn't even hit level 2 yet. So had the ward not been there, certainly would have been a, trickier situation for Frozen Fire, but she probably would have been safe regardless.
Yep, and Vi coming around over to the middle, going for a gank on this Katarina. Katarina is being a bit careful though, so Vi is not going to have a chance to go in.
Yeah, I think they were just really counting on, Katarina being a little bit silly and jumping in with Shumpo. Of course, she decided not to do that, and the gank just fizzled out. Jarvan, meanwhile, heading back up top, so he didn't know he got spotted out by the ward. So that was a really great play by Frozen Fire to, not put himself in a, tricky position to be ganked, but also not necessarily give away that there was a ward in that brush. And because of that, we're going to see an awesome counter gank.
Yep, a Vi coming up for this counter gank, and she's going to go in there. Jarvan sees her. She hits that Jarvan, is trying to get some damage onto him. Irelia goes in as well, but he does use that EQ to try to get to safety, and he is fine. He is going to get out of there. Vi is sticking around though, maybe trying to see if Cho'Gath is going to overextend, expecting her to leave.
Yeah, and Cho'Gath not incredibly tanky early game, and he's, Cho'Gath, essentially, this Cho'Gath in particular, 2 wards, 9 pots, and running those hit point quints, or hit point regen quints, is really all about sustaining in lane. And, he has to be really careful as this game goes on, does put down a ward, because his lane will be pushing for quite some time here. It's just a really large wave. Unless he pushes it to tower, it's going to sit there for a long time, and really he can just, freeze it.
Yeah, actually Jarvan putting that flag over into that bush helped him out, spotted out the Vi, so Vi had to back off from that attempted gank as well.
Right, I like the idea of Frozen Fire freezing the lane. Actually, Blade surged to the wrong minion there, but was doing a really good job of picking up all the minions under turret, and Aurelia is, particularly good at that. Middle lane, just kind of poke back and forth. Diana is running out of mana, though, so while she tends to be a good matchup against Katarina, Katarina can force her out of lane, essentially like she can force everyone out of lane by just sustaining forever and continuing to push.
Yep, so down at bot lane, besides that early aggression, we don't really see that much. Both sides really deciding to go for a more sustainy start, so both of them are pretty safe. It doesn't look like either of them are going to die anytime soon.
Ooh, that Vi.
Vine going mid lane is going to try to get a gank off on Katarina, but wasn't successful. Katarina's just gonna go over, harass Diana more, and Diana is out of mana, so she's gonna have to back off, and she's probably gonna go back.
Yeah, she also has teleport still in her, arsenal there, so could potentially use that to jump in behind someone. Actually, down bottom, they know that Jarvan is down bottom thanks to that ward, and Diana could potentially jump to that. So, I mean, that is a potential advantage there that Google could use, and they are 400 gold up as well, just thanks to better farming at this point.
Yep, Jarvan just gonna back off, is going to get back. Vi coming over to the mid lane. Doesn't look Diana is gonna go for that teleport into the back ward strategy.
She should, actually. I think she might do it, because Vi is covering middle, and this could be a really crazy gank.
Leona is going in on this actually, and gets the stun on the Misfortune. She gets a lot of damage. Tristana jumping in, going very aggressive, but does have that exhaust on her. He's going to turn around and actually shoot this Misfortune, flashing forward and getting that kill. Misfortune turned around to try to get some damage as they backed off, but Tristana just going very aggressive, flashing forward in order to pick up that first blood.
Yeah, just a little bit too much confidence Buns had, and being able to put down a little extra damage. It's a really good showing by Google picking up that first blood there. I was so convinced, Vi was in middle, Diana was, getting back in the lane, had full mana. I was like, certain she was going to jump into that back brush, would have, certainly secured the kill, but they got it anyway, and she still has the teleport, so I guess that's overall a win for Google. Still have a lot of opportunity to create more ganks.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Diana just pushed down mid, and Jarvan went over to mid to protect it, and Diana just is taking his wraiths.
And she will just back on out of there. Jarvan, not too happy. Not too happy about that. Diana puts down a little goodbye ward. You're like, oh, I see you, but you're not going to chase me. I know it, because there's a ward there. So really good showing by Flash there in the mid lane. And the farm, actually in her favor by, 10. And of course, getting those 4 extra wraiths helps as well.
Yep, so we see that mid lane matchup go up once again. She does have her ult now, so we'll see if she decides to roam or if she decides to even try to go on Katarina.
Yeah, she has a lot of opportunities now, is doing a little bit of damage, to Katarina, but Cassie doing a really nice showing of just shumpoing out of that Crescent Strike there.
Yep, Leona going over, putting a pink ward in near that bush, and is going to back off after killing a ward there, so maybe she was looking for a chance to go into mid lane, but or just clearing wards over in that area. But some good ward coverage. Leona is gonna have to back off over from this, from getting back to her own lane though, because of the Misfortune and Lulu. But she's gonna go around the long way and rejoin Tristana in lane.
Yeah, because Sightstones cost more, I think we see a lot more supports going Philostone first, but I do still like the Sightstone start because it gives you a little extra tankiness, as well as that, essentially GP10 nature. Yep, but everyone just kind of farming up here. There's a lot of things that could happen on the map, mainly thanks to Diana, but they're not happening as of yet.
Yep, and actually we see that
Cutlass,
Bilgewater
right?
Cutlass start on Tristana, so she's probably going to go for that Blade of the Ruined King very early on.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense for her because her abilities don't scale off AD. When you're playing Misfortune or Draven, they rely incredibly heavy on having, a lot of attack damage early, and thus, you might still want to go for that Bloodthirster first build. And I think she probably will go for that. But Tristana really has no reason not to go Blade of the Rune King.
Yeah, she's really low right now, and the Katarina is at bot lane, so she's gonna have to be careful. She doesn't really know what's happening. She doesn't have a ward there, but is playing very safe right now. Is very afraid of someone coming in. And over at top lane, we see Vi coming in. I'm gonna go on this, flashing forward, killing that Cho'Gath with the help of Relia. So the Katarina being bot and Jarvan having to cover for her lane is helping them by getting pressure off of top and allowing for a gank up top to give them another kill.
Yeah, absolutely good job. And Katarina, waited around for a long time, but nothing really came of it because of Google's patience in that bottom lane. They just decided to wait out the storm and wait for the minions to come to them, which is, great showing. Obviously, patience as an AD carry is of utmost importance. And wow, Google actually putting a lot of pressure on that top lane as well. And Cho'Gath isn't really close to it. Jarvan might have to come in and save it, but at this point, it's getting really low. And so, there is kind of a pincher going down.
Yeah, Katarina is going up there, though they do see her with that ward. Vi going in, forcing Katarina to back off. And Katarina is actually going to go in, put some damage on before backing off, but I mean, Aurelia is pretty tanky, so she's not going to worry about that too much.
Yeah, and Aurelia actually still has that Elixir of Fortitude, just sitting, waiting to be used there. Probably waiting to be used in case she gets dove or, a gank comes in and she wants to get away with the, with just a tiny bit of life left. But it's kind of interesting because, you tend to always use that Elixir of Fortitude for defensive purposes, but it also gives you, 15 attack damage. So anytime you, for instance, are going for a gank, as they just did for Cho'Gath, it would make a lot of sense to pop it as well. And we're seeing her with the Bilgewater Cutlass pickup, which means more than likely we'll see a Blade of the Rune King on her as well.
Yep, a lot of regression going down bot as well. The stunning going down on Lulu, but Tristana had already backed up because she did take a lot of damage. Misfortune is low on mana though, so she's not going to be able to use her skills like double up as much.
Yeah, and at this point, Tristana also has an item advantage on Misfortune, so two things kind of going against Misfortune here, and, incredible sustain from Tristana, so regardless of the fact that she was taken low there, still has 2 potions, doesn't even, feel the need to, drink those down, because she also has a lot of lifesteal from that early Bilgewater Cutlass.
Yep, but they're actually just going to back off. Tristana does have 500 gold. He's not really gonna be able to buy too much from that, but he's gonna back off for now and get some items, maybe buy up and get some more potions before getting back. He does pick up that dagger in the build up to the Blade of the Rune King.
Yeah, and despite being 0-1, Misfortune actually has been doing a really good job of last hitting at 90 right now, so that's 7 ahead of Tristana. Probably will head back now and buy, a big ticket item. Let's see how much gold she has in store. Yeah, 1,400, so actually is 100 off BF source, so might just stick around, clear this wave, and maybe clear the next one just to get enough for that BF.
Yep, Vi coming over mid lane, gonna put some damage on Katarina, but Katarina's just potting it back up. Jarvan is gonna come around and maybe try to pull off a gank on this Vi. He's going in, but Katarina wasn't on the same page, or was just not in on the gank. Jarvan might have been just trying to get her to back off a little bit, but Vi gets back fine, is perfectly safe.
Yeah, and I love when... I'm about to see some aggression bottom,
yep,
and
over
Katarina
bottom
down.
we see Katarina going down with the aggression from Tristana and Leona. They do see her, so they're trying to back off now. With the teleport coming in from Diana, though, so we might see her coming in. The Leona gets very low. Is she going to go down? Yes, she does fall. The exhaust does go down on Diana, but she is still giving chase, going to kill that Lulu, and now the Jarvan comes in with that Cataclysm, is going to force a flash from Diana, and that is a 1-for-1 trade down at bot lane. So over at mid though, Vi is still pushing. He's going to try to get a lot of damage down on this turret with both the mid laner and the jungler for Team EA down. Or yeah, down at bot, I mean, sorry.
And Vi is really good at pushing turrets as well, thanks to being able to use Excessive Force as an auto-attack reset, and thanks to the extra damage that it does to the turret. And she also has great wave clearing potential as well. So, overall 1-for-1, but it seemed like Google came out ahead of that just because they had Vi pushing down on that mid turret, was able to do some decent damage, and of course was able to farm in the meantime.
Yep, Vi actually going over and punching Jarvan a couple times as he gets over to the mid lane. But just gonna clear this wave and then back off, allowing Diana to come back to her own lane.
Yeah, up top, it looks like Aurelia is kind of being a bully up there. Cho'Gath actually rushed the Giant's Belt. Misfortune, I said, probably doesn't scale as well with the Blade of the Rune King, but does pick that up, and now there's just a lot of aggression.
Yeah, and Bait going in, and Jarvan being forced to back off from this red buff. Both Diana, Vi, and the Leona are here. Vi does take it for herself, but now Misfortune is here as well, so it's a 3-on-3. The ult going down on the Katarina, sorry. Katarina goes in, Tristana's here as well. Diana getting very low, but Jarvan falls very quickly. Lulu is on the other side. She is going to have to back off, and now they're focusing this Misfortune, making a lot of damage onto the Vi, but Misfortune falls as well to the Tristana. Katarina's still around though. She might be looking to try to get a reset off of Vi. Is going to get engaged on by the Leona and get stunned, and that is a dead Katarina. So actually the Diana wasn't even there farming those raids. Now they're going to try to go for this dragon with so many people down.
Right, Aurelia made her way from top lane, which gives Cho'Gath time to free farm in that in top, but make sure that they secure this dragon and had the fight not gone as well, which it was a really close fight. She would have been there to clean up. Really, the thing that went wrong for EA there was just Lulu was split off from the team, so didn't use her ultimate. That would have been really, fight changing, just granting that extra life and that CC. But when she was just forced away from the fight, trying to come in from the backside, but knew if she did show up, she would get burst down pretty quickly.
Yep. So it was actually something of a 4-on-3, which really helped Google out, as they picked up 3 kills, I believe, in that exchange, and none of them died. And Tristana actually using that to pick up a Blade of the Rune King.
Yeah, so we have 2 Blade of the Rune Kings already created, and another one definitely on the way pretty shortly here from Aurelia. See how much gold does she have in the bank? She actually has 1,500 gold. I guess, wanted to make sure to get that lane, protect it. But I suspect we will be seeing that Blade of the Rune King as a first item pickup. And as we mentioned before the game as well, Vi doing a really good job of farming for 74 CS so far, but actually going the more tanky Vi build, rushing that Locket Iron Solari, picking up a Sight or a Spirit Stone as well, and now looks to be kind of rushing Aegis of the Legion.
Yeah, she does have that Ruby Crystal and the Null Magic Mantle, and actually they're going for this invade right here. The EQ from Jarvan helps them to get out, and they're still giving chase a little bit, but doesn't look like they're going to be able to do much. Might put down. No, she doesn't have any wards, so they're just gonna. Vi is just sticking around actually, and it's just, with no Aurelia there, it's just Vi by herself. She's gonna have to get out of there. She does get out just fine. Katarina, meanwhile, is coming down bot to get another, try to get another gank off on Tristana and Leona.
Yeah, and now, Diana doesn't have the possibility of teleporting in, so this could be a cleaner gank, but, EA, or Google rather, knows about it, so they're going to play defensively, or I think they know about it.
Yeah, Lulu actually killed a ward with a pink ward over in that bush, and Tristana was very suspicious because, oh, this is probably setting up a gank because they just put down a pink ward to clear that bush, so is playing very carefully. Is going to not overextend herself, and looks like the Katarina is still waiting for the right moment, but is going to have to wait a while before anything happens, and is just going to back off from this. No, goes back. Meanwhile, without Katarina over at mid lane, we see Diana and Vi take down this mid turret, so yet another turret going to Google.
Yeah, really interesting combination there with the Eclipse as well, to do a lot of damage to the minions, and then Tristana was just able to clear them up really fast with the extra explosive shot.
You might see Katarina engage on this. Lulu coming over, slowing down the Tristana, turning into a squirrel. Katarina's not going in yet, though. No, she goes in now. Maybe was aiming for the engage from Leona. Leona does have to flash out. The flash forward from the Misfortune goes in, but now Diana is here, and looks like a cleanup over here as Lulu falls, as Katarina falls, and as Misfortune falls. So a great way to counter the gank by Katarina. So they're going to be able to clear this wave and maybe even try to take this tower down.
I mean, Katarina has been very devoted to those bottom lane ganks, but at a given point, every single time Google's like, oh, Katarina hasn't been mid in like 2 minutes. Clearly she's waiting in one of the bottom brushes. Let's just counter that gank, and they've done it successfully twice now, and that is a large part of why they have a 9-2 to lead, or 9-2 kill lead here, and 8,000 gold up, which is really substantial at 18 minutes in. It might be, minimized a little bit by this, top turret being taken by Cho'Gath, but essentially he's been alone in lane, and he's not going to be able to take that turret, so he's been alone in lane a lot, and hasn't really been able to capitalize on it based, with the turret taking at least.
Yeah, really gonna do a good job farming under tower, and is gonna save that turret, as you said. Cho'Gath being forced to back off, so yeah, 0 turrets taken for EA, and that gold lead is about 7,000 gold for Team Google.
Yeah, pretty substantial at this point. Now, I mean, Google want to do anything they can to get a fight because, they're almost, guaranteed to win it if they don't do anything, incredibly silly. I suppose we'll be having the next dragon at 20:53, so that's, still about 2 minutes off. So they don't really have anything to fight over. They've taken down all the outer turrets, and, it's tough to say, oh, what do you spend this time, these, 2 minutes, these 2 minutes before the next big objective comes up. I think they'll just, spend it farming away, try to increase their gold lead that way.
Yep, and interestingly enough, we see Diana picking up that Nashor's Tooth.
Right. So I'm a big fan, and I know that Scaro used it in the LCS, and then someone in the EU side also built it. I think it might have been for the Copenhagen Wolves or something along that line. But he actually complained on Twitter. He's like, oh, Diana built Nashor's Tooth, but she's using it wrong. If you build the Nashor's Tooth, you don't want a team fight. You want to split push all the time. And Diana has the tools, obviously, has that teleport up, can go into a solo lane, and then force her team to force elsewhere. But it is kind of interesting because Diana can, especially when building that way, win almost every one-on-one, but she doesn't really have great gank escape potential. So she doesn't really share that with, someone like a Singed or a Nidalee who can, split push all day long and then also get away from a lot of ganks.
Yeah, interestingly enough, if you look at this ward over near where they're grouping up, there's a pink ward right next to a blue ward, but they haven't killed that blue ward yet, and I think it's a bug or something because they can't see that blue ward.
Yeah, that is definitely unusual. I mean, there's other places that happen. In particular, I put a pink ward in the bottom lane brush the other day, but if you put it right in the corner of that second brush towards the blue side, then it actually doesn't see the rest of the brush. So kind of interesting dynamics on some places in the maps. I also think there was a spot in the brush, right immediately around Dragon where we do see a ward right now, that you could actually put a ward, a pink ward, but it wouldn't see other wards inside that little brush. So it's really interesting.
This could actually be disastrous for Team Google if they hide in that brush thinking that EA can't see them, but they actually can see them. So a pink ward being put down over at Dragon as EA is trying to group around Dragon as well. Diana isn't with them though, so
she does have teleport, but she's going to walk on down. I mean, she could really force them to engage and just push that top lane, but instead she's going to walk on down, and that's just going to force EA to back on out. I mean, they don't want to fight. They clearly were trying to get better positioning there and have the vision advantage over Dragon, but they don't actually want to fight here.
Yeah, and it looks like actually Diana's going for somewhat of a split push kind of thing. Actually, Vi going in, but nothing happens for a little while, but she's going to get silenced, is going to try to go on this Miss Fortune, does manage to interrupt that ultimate, but dies almost immediately. A great ultimate going down from Leona, and Diana is in the fight as well. The Tristana coming in is going to put a lot of damage on the Cho'Gath, as Cho'Gath is going to eventually fall to the Leona, actually. Diana coming in, giving chase to the Misfortune. Is she going to throw out that? No, she does not hit that, so they're going to have to probably back off from this. Actually, no, she does back off, and they are going to be able to take this dragon.
Yeah, I mean, and that's tough because that fight did not go really poorly for EA in the sense that, the positioning was okay, the focus wasn't bad. They actually took out Vi pretty fast, but they just weren't strong enough. Google is just that much stronger at this point, and now BiggleBuns is in a lot of trouble.
BiggleBuns overextending a little bit. Actually, the reset from the kill helps Tristana out to get the kill on Lulu as well.
Yeah, we saw really good use of that Blade of the Rune King there. Aurelia actually used it in the initial fight, and then Tristana still had it saved up for that little extra battle at the end. So really good showing and great dominance. 3-14 is the score. 10,000 gold lead for Google, and they've just been, kind of doing whatever they want at this point. And now, where do they go from here? Dragon is down, Baron is up. They can push. They're not like the best poke and push team, especially because Vi and Aurelia really have to get in there. So they're relying almost entirely on Tristana to poke down that turret. And Diana does have a little bit of poke, but she's not like well renowned for that her ability, in that sense. So do they really want to, split push? They don't have teleport. Really, I mean, they could force around Baron, but is that something they want to do in this game?
Yeah,
and that's
so
a question.
I mean,
What do they want to do?
well, I mean, it is still a little bit early for Baron, and right now I don't know if they want to risk doing it because the Baron could do a lot of damage to them, and that could help EA win team fights. So they might not want to risk that as, right now. But I mean, the fact that Diana went with that Nash's Tooth and does have teleport, although it is not up right now, might suggest that they might want to go for a split pushing strategy.
Yeah, I mean, but right now, 11,000 gold up. They have every single advantage going towards them, but it seems like it just has to be a natural lull here. It seems like they can't really force things. Now, EA can kind of get out of position, and Google will win any of those fights that are picked, but, if no fights are picked, it's pretty risky to go for Baron, and pretty risky to do anything, outside of just continuing farming up and maybe waiting for the next dragon even. And I mean, I hope I'm proven wrong on this point, but it just doesn't seem like the natural course of the game kind of just, begs for a little bit of passive farming for a while.
Yeah, which is interesting because Leona did pick up that Oracles, which is usually picked up before some major objectives like a Baron or like an Aura Dragon, but it looks like she just wants to clear out these wars in the jungle. And in the Baron area is going to walk around. Actually not going to find any wards on Baron. Most of the wards for EA are down on the bottom side of their own jungle.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been like, oh, well, Blade of the Broom King is particularly good at taking down Baron thanks to the, the percentage of health, but it does have a max of 90 against monsters and minions, so I actually don't know that it's that much better than regular AD items at taking Baron down. But, as I mentioned, it's going to be dangerous to do Baron. Not dangerous enough for Google. So they're just going to go ahead and do it, and of course no vision, and, it's just completely given up, and they take, very little damage from it as well. We'll be able to sustain that up real quick. And now they're thinking about camping. I really like, kind of the suggestion by Google there to just wait for someone to check Baron, but instead they're just going to go into their lanes, farm up a little more. But I always love lying in wait around that Baron area, especially after you've taken Baron, because no one ever suspects that.
Yeah, and they have the Baron area well warded up, so they would have been able to see them coming and just jump on them, but they do decide to back off. It really did go back, and it looks like most of the rest of Google is going to get back as well, maybe farm up a little bit and buy before going for a push.
Yeah, and really, kind of crazy item builds. Tristana going to go back to base, has 1,800 gold, probably will complete that Infinity Edge, and she is going to be absolutely devastating. Yes, does in fact pick up the Infinity Edge, has 500 gold to spare, 800 gold in total, or I mean 8-0 rather, and add a couple hundred gold to spare. Jarvan does pick up his own blue buff, so that's kind of a fortunate, happening there. But, now Google's going to, make their move down on this mid lane, and it's going to be incredibly hard to stop them.
Yep, Tristana lagging behind a little bit, but is going to make her way over there. Is going to start doing a lot of damage with that Infinity Edge as they push down this mid lane. Jarvan is top, so he's not going to be here. But it looks like they're going to be able to do a lot of damage to this tower, and actually is going to take it pretty easily. Misfortune using her ultimate, but it's almost like they don't care about it by going in with that ultimate, forcing the Misfortune away, and Katarina going in, putting some damage down, but Jarvan is going to come back over, using his EQ over the wall to get back to his own base, but now they're going to go over, trying to focus on taking, well, the red buff isn't there, but looks like they're trying to transition back down to bottom lane to take out that turret over there.
Yeah, and I was going to say they can send Diana top, and it looks like she is going to go top. She does have teleport, so they can really kind of engage in some split pushing here. Have Diana go up one direction, they all go another direction. Make EA choose which one to defend, and then of course Diana can swap her positions at her will, thanks to that summoner teleport. And certainly having the two turrets all the way across the map is going to help them in that little venture. But really, they could do anything that they wanted right at this point and get away with it.
Yep, so they're again gonna push down this bottom lane. Cho'Gath going top to protect against the Diana. Tristana gonna get a good amount of damage on this turret before that last minion dies. I'm gonna wait for the next wave before they put any damage down, but we might see something happening in that next wave because that tower is pretty low.
And Diana's punishing Cho'Gath as well, and that's what she does essentially.
Yep, Vi is waiting over on the side, maybe trying to get a good time to go in on this. This next wave is going to come out. Tristana is going to put a good amount of damage. Jarvan goes in, gets on that Tristana, is going to force her away. He's still on her, and she does fall, so doing a good job, but the rest of the Team Google going on the Katarina, the teleport going in
was cancelled by Cho'Gath.
The Diana, but it was cancelled. Jarvan going in as once again doing a great job and is going to get very low, but is trying his best to stay alive. Does eventually fall to the Vi, and now Vi is gonna back off. Diana over at top, meanwhile, did kill the Cho'Gath, so she's gonna keep on pushing over at top. And Vi going back in is gonna get a lot of damage on this Misfortune, forcing her to back away. He's gonna actually get her very low, but they do back off. So Diana is going to keep on pushing this lane. Is gonna get the might get the inhibitor tower as well. And Misfortune and Lulu are just at bot and are unable to protect this. So that is an open inhibitor up at top for Team Google.
Yeah, and that was an incredible job by EA overall, and like kind of, I mean, obviously they lost an inhibitor turret and another top lane turret, so it didn't end up very well for them, but they couldn't expect too much, but they did kind of the best they could given those circumstances. Jarvan did a great job of sticking onto Tristana. Tristana, fortunately, didn't even have time to use that Blade of the Rune King to, heal herself up, and kind of jumped out of the battle a little bit late, it seemed. So unfortunate on that end, but the other thing that really surprised me about that fight is Vi, until now she's picked up that Zeke's Herald and a Bilgewater Cutlass, but she, had only gone, tanky items and a Vamp Scepter, and she was actually doing really good damage throughout the course of that fight.
Yeah, I mean, she was chunking down Misfortune at the end, forcing her to back off, and I mean, she is probably going to do even more damage now with those offensive items in her build.
Yep. Certainly will be doing that. It's going to be a major threat with that Bilgewater Cutlass, because now she can, jump in on people, ult them, also get that extra 100 magic damage active from Bilgewater, and, just rely on her base damage from then on out. No one's completed the Runic Bulwark, but I think that they realized, at this point, Katarina is not that strong. We don't actually need that aura item, and instead going for the more aggressive aura item of Zeke's Herald, which I really like, and I think will come back, more and more into favor as teams realize how strong it is. It actually got an overall nerf, or an overall buff about 2 patches ago, where the CDR was increased, by 5%. The price went up a tiny bit, but essentially on anyone who's going to build that, whether it be support or jungler, the extra CDR is really useful.
Yeah, I mean, CDR is useful on almost everyone. I mean, AD carries might be the exception, but I mean, if they have escapes, the CDR helps them as well, so it's always a nice thing to have. But looks like Google is going to go for the push over at mid again. Irelia's top and Diana's going bot. It looks like they're actually going to go top with the Diana going bot. Oh, actually, the Vi getting caught out a little bit, forcing Jarvan, as Jarvan forces her back. Tristana's going over, and she's going to have to back off from this. Leona is, she jukes that the Rupture, but to get hit by the Feral Scream. The Shirelia's coming out, and the slow coming down from Jarvan as Leona goes in on Lulu, and a fight breaking out over here. The ultimate coming out from the Leona, the knockups coming out from the Cho'Gath and Lulu, and now it looks like the Lulu is about to fall. The jump coming over from Tristana as she picks up a triple kill, and
keep jumping, Grasshopper.
And what looked like a pretty good catch for EA is turning into a team fight win for Google right now.
Yeah, and not only just a win, but a absolute devastating loss for EA on the other side, 0-for-4. And I can only imagine EA, they're like, oh my goodness, we kind of stuck under their squishies. We really, focused Tristana. We made her use all of her escape skills to get away. But what they didn't notice, it seems, is that Misfortune got tag teamed in the back line by Diana and Vi, and just almost instantaneously went down. So of course they're like, okay, we're really doing a good job, pressuring their back line, but all of our damage is suddenly gone, and that was really unfortunate for EA, and it lost them the team fight, and is going to lose them this Dragon, or Baron rather, almost certainly. Yep, does go down.
Yep, and now they are 20,000 gold ahead, up 21-4. They can just back off, maybe buy, and then try to push down once again.
I mean, I never surrender because I always think, something can happen that can, allow you to come back into a game. But, outside of an act of a god at this point, EA is in really troubling waters. There's, I mean, at most they can kind of hope to take an outer turret. I think that should be their goal. Don't get shut out in turrets, because right now, 4 to 21 and shut out in turrets, that's not really a showing that you would be impressed with. But I always like taking turrets. Gives you some little extra global gold and gives you a lot of morale too. So they could definitely use a morale boost.
Some pretty big items picked up on the side of Google, though. An Iceborne Gauntlet from Aurelia, the Runic Bulwark is finished, a Void Staff on part of Diana, so they're going to be doing a ton of damage. Even Tristana has a Giant Spelt as well, so she's going to be harder to burst down for Jarvan as well.
Yup. I mean, it is just going to be really, really tricky. And EA has been picking pretty good fights, and they've been initiating pretty well. It just, because they've been down essentially the whole game, it just hasn't turned out incredibly great for them. I like the builds on them. I like kind of everything they've done, except, a couple of those bottom lane ganks just turned around and really gave Google a huge advantage.
Yeah, and Google has really been able to snowball that advantage really well, pressuring a lot and picking up more kills from this. So they are now pressuring this bottom turret. Diana is with the team right now as well, so actually doing a lot of poke damage to that Jarvan.
Yeah, Jarvan just took 382 damage from one hit from Tristana. Now, it is important to note that Jarvan actually is not very tanky. He built that Blade of the Rune King as well. He does have a Warden's Mail and a Wriggles, but overall he's not as tanky as a full tank Jarvan tends to be.
Diana goes over to mid, takes that turret down to about half health as Tristana does finish up that bottom turret. So now they're going to focus on this inhibitor, are going to take it down very low, aren't going to have much resistance to it as they take it down. Jarvan goes in on the Tristana using that Cataclysm, but she just ults him away, and she is still looking very good. Katarina goes on Tristana as well, but Katarina gets bursted down very quickly, and looks like Team Google is cleaning up the rest of this fight. Misfortune is going to fall despite having that wall growth on her, and now they are going to push the rest of the way to take this Nexus for the win.
Yeah, and that time, as soon as Jarvan jumped on Tristana, she just used that Blade of the Rune King and essentially, took back all of the damage that he'd already done to her and, started the fight over full life, and of course she's going to win that battle every single time. She didn't really need to knock him away, but did decide to, and it turned out pretty good because then Katarina jumped on her and allowed her to, fight her that way as well. So really good use of that Blade of the Rune King by Google and a 4 to 26 win, just absolutely dominating.
Yep, so thanks again everyone for watching. This was the After Hours Gaming League. I am ZeroCardinality, joined here by Sotere. Thanks for watching everyone, and have a good day everyone.
Have a good Sunday.